Welcome to Zonie Living. I'm Bonnie Stevens, and today we are exploring the impact of loss and grief, and then finding what grounds us and how we can regain our joy in our lives. My guests today are two young women who have suffered extraordinary losses. They are Taylor Wood and Megan Mangold, and they happen to be best friends. Joining us also is hypnotherapist Rosemary Powell, who was a hospice nurse for 30 years. She has experienced great loss herself and treated many clients through grief. She also has worked as a high school nurse here in the Valley and has experience with brain injuries in young adults, young athletes to be specific. You'll hear why that's relevant in just a moment. But first, I'd like to welcome our guests to the studio. Hi, Taylor. Hi, Megan.
Hi,
Great to have you here. Taylor, I want to set the stage. You lost your mom after a long battle with illness, and then not too much longer after that, you lost your dad. And Megan, you lost someone who was very close to you, and this all happened within a short period of time. So let's talk about it. Megan, yours was a boyfriend that you've known really since preschool.
Yeah.
And Taylor, your mom and dad, going through what they were going through and the situation, you said your whole life was in chaos. So if you would please share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
Happy to be here. But yeah, growing up, there was a lot of things going on in the household. Addiction and different things that made it very hard to navigate when I was younger. And unfortunately, it all came to a very tragic end in May of 2021. My mom passed away suddenly, and that was the worst day of my life. And
she had been sick for some time.
Yeah, she had. She had cancer when I was younger and different things. But I think ultimately the addiction to alcohol did catch up to her and unfortunately did play a part in her death. So that was in 2021, right before my 21st birthday. And it was even more chaotic after that. My dad was having a really hard time, and he ended up passing away a year and a half later.
And this whole time, you two had been friends, and you relied on Megan. Megan, tell me how that was for you, watching Taylor going through this. And of course, you knew her parents as well. So this was, again, a loss for you, too.
Yes. It was really difficult to see one of my best friends losing both of her parents. It was such a shock to everyone. And I think doing this podcast today is extremely important because at the time I hadn't experienced grief in my life. And so it was difficult for me to know how to show up for someone, especially someone who had two extreme losses in their lives, like their parents. So it's really difficult to navigate when you don't have any experience with grief, and knowing that there was nothing I could do to help her make the pain away was so difficult. But overall, I was just so proud of her. She's the hardest worker that I know, and I couldn't be more proud of her.
Yeah, we've talked before, and I know how strong you are, Taylor, and that must be one of the qualities that you admire.
Absolutely.
In her resilience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk, Taylor, about how early you moved out of the house.
Yeah.
You moved out at the age of 17.
Yes, I
did.
And
you did have a job then, but by the time you were 18, you were managing 30 people at least, and that was in a salon. You had a plan of moving your sister in with you. You felt very responsible and wanted to protect her as well.
Yeah, I did. At a very young age, I started to realize what was happening. That I didn't have a normal life at home, and I tried my best to help the situation. But I think ultimately when I was around 17 or 18, I realized that there wasn't really anything that I could do. So it was more about getting us out of that environment and trying to build a life. And so as soon as I had money saved, I got me and my sister our first apartment together. And
you're still together.
yeah, we still
right
live
now?
together. Yeah,
That's
we still live together
fantastic.
now. Yeah, my little sister is everything to me, and I just wanted to protect her and take care of her as best
Oh,
as I could.
that's
Yeah.
so amazing. Meanwhile, Megan, your life was starting to unravel. Now, you were being friends with Taylor, but there was also a very special friend of yours who had been your high school sweetheart, and you were watching him suffer. Tell us about that situation. You were learning about what happens with brain injuries.
So my boyfriend passed away in July, and he was one of the best people that I have ever encountered in my life. And he did play sports growing up, and he was a hockey goalie, and so he suffered many concussions and brain injuries, and it was really difficult to watch him go through that. He's, like I said, one of the best people I knew, and he didn't deserve the pain that he went through every day. You know, he had constant headaches throughout the day, ringing in his ears, and that's not a great quality of life, to be constantly in pain.
You know, absolutely. I can't imagine either of your situations. I'd like to bring in Rosemary Powell now, who's with us, standing by on a Zoom call. Rosemary, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bonnie.
Fantastic. It's great to have you. Thank you for coming and being on Zonie Living again. You are the founder of Joyful Life Hypnotherapy, and you've been listening to Taylor and Megan's stories. As a therapist and nurse, you've seen what addictions do to families. You've also seen, from your experience as a high school nurse here in the Valley, the devastating effects of brain injuries. So in both cases, Taylor and Megan were being super strong and doing everything they could to help the people that were being affected. Do you have some words for them?
I certainly do. How much I admire each one of you. I know what brain injuries do because I had students that had brain injuries. They couldn't think straight. They couldn't focus. They couldn't do simple tasks. And if they were without a headache for a while, then it would come back if they did anything on a screen or with a particular subject like math. And it shattered their future. And Taylor, with the loss of your mother and then your father, and the protective mode of your little sister you went into, is profound. You are amazing young ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary.
These traumatic experiences that impacted your lives changed the way your lives will be forever.
Absolutely.
And now you're supporting each other. You're bringing a light not just to each other, but to far more people than you even realize.
Megan, when your boyfriend died, Taylor now was there for you, and you
Yes.
knew you could rely on her because you knew she knew what you were feeling. Tell us about your relationship.
Do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Megan, I remember when she called me, I was like, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Because
She had just woken up.
I had just woken up. But I just came right over there because I know what it's like, and you just want people to show up for you. And I knew in that moment that I was going to continue to do that for Megan forever, you know? And it made us closer, I think, because there's not many people in our circle of people that we know that have ever gone through anything like this.
Right.
So having each other to kind of rely on and talk to is super important. And yeah, I just love you.
Megan, I remember you saying, Taylor's my girl. I love her so much. And I can see it in your eyes. You guys have this incredible bond you've always had, but I believe it's even closer and stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I truly don't know if I would be here without her because, like she said, grief is something that you can't even begin to explain to someone that hasn't experienced it. And so to have someone by my side that knew exactly what I was feeling and what I was going through was so beneficial to me in my grief experience. Someone that would walk alongside of me as I'm going to grief share and counseling, and just someone that I knew I could rely on was so extremely important. She was someone that would show up anytime I asked, reached out to me every single day, had never abandoned me throughout this entire grief journey that I've been on this past year.
You two have such a beautiful and special relationship, and you can just see it. When I first met you, I could see it there as well. What also struck me about both of these experiences, and I've seen it too, at a time when we're feeling our saddest and the most overwhelmed, we need people to rally around us. But it seems like just the opposite happens. Mm-hmm. So share with us, you talked about that a little bit, that you two could understand what each other was going through, mm-hmm. but what would you tell to people who feel awkward and don't know what to say, don't know, and I think sadly when we do feel awkward, we tend to stay away.
Pull away.
Yeah.
I think, with grief, like I said in the beginning, when you have not experienced grief, it is hard. Like, I can empathize with people that don't know what to say, because you don't want to say the wrong thing, but what I always say is, like, it's better to say the wrong thing and continue to show up than just kind of pull back. Or it's even just important to communicate with someone that you know is grieving, and just showing up. Don't say, like, let me know if you need anything, because the griever will not reach out to you. They're not going to say, hey, could you please bring me dinner?
Yeah.
So it's just important to keep consistently showing up for those people, and that's something that Taylor did for me. But I can also empathize with the fact that it's so taboo. It's extremely uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I think the intentions are pure because people don't want to, reach out and maybe set you off if you were having a good day. So we know that it can be uncomfortable, but I also think it is extremely important to continue showing up.
Yeah. I think some people feel like they're invading your privacy, mm-hmm. and they don't know what to say, so they stay back and they want you to know. And I think that's the most standard response is, mm-hmm. let me know if I can help. Mm-hmm. But you're not about to do that. You're not thinking straight. How about you, Taylor? What were your thoughts? What was your experience?
Yeah, no, I would say it's a weird thing. I feel like we've talked about this before. It's almost like people kind of like are looking at you like you're an exhibit in a museum, and they're like, do I touch them? Like, like don't really know what to say. And I completely understand that. And I, didn't hold anything against anybody that maybe wasn't there for me, mm-hmm. Because it's a very difficult situation. I just think that what I've learned in me and Megan's friendship is not only was I there for her, but having her, I know it was kind of like a year later, but I really needed that as well. And it's just very simple as just being there for one another. Like, it doesn't always have to be you have to say the right thing or you have to say anything at all.
Right.
It's just continuing to show up for somebody. And, I never want to wish knowing grief on anybody, but I think it is a thing. Unless there is awareness or there's a conversation about it, nobody's going to know what to do in this kind of situation.
I do remember in the beginning of my grief too, Taylor sharing with me, saying like, I think it was just like a one-on-one conversation with us. And she was like, unfortunately, Megan, like, you really are going to see who your real friends are. And like, people are going to disappear. And I'm sorry that you're going to see that soon. And in the beginning, I was like, there's no way like that people would, but they do. And I think it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So we can understand, and we don't hold it against people, but there is that part of you like that some people do really surprise you.
Well, it's that because it's like my loss is not who I am. Mm-hmm. You were my friend before my parents died, or you were close to me before my parents died. This has happened in my life, but I'm going to have to navigate it, and I might never be the same, but I'm still me. So, you know, we can work through the uncomfortableness of loss and the profoundness of what happened, but I'm still me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We still have a great time together. We still laugh
I know.
and go
I feel like
out.
people
but
think that we just sit around and cry. Like, that's not the case.
we do sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay too. I remember getting one of my friends, after a series of things happened to me, one of my friends said to me, I don't know what greeting card to get you. And that made me sad, but I was so glad that she spoke out because,
Yeah.
you know, you could feel that she was just feeling helpless,
Right.
feeling powerless.
And that's the thing, like, words won't help. Like, nothing that anyone says will take away the pain, and no meals that are brought, no gift baskets, like, nothing's going to take away the pain except, you know, showing up and just hanging out and hanging out a normal day with your friend, or inviting them to go to lunch, and not just inviting them, but being like, no, you're coming with me. Like, we're getting you out of the house. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
So things like that, I think, are extremely helpful for anyone going through grief, like someone that will literally like pull them out and like not take no for an answer.
Taylor, I think it was you who was saying, I can't remember which one of you said to me, but you talked about, I don't want to make one more decision.
Yes.
That was-
You know,
that was
and,
me.
and you were saying, if somebody could just not ask me what they can do, and they just come over and they say, let's go to lunch. I'm here, I got the car, you've got 2 hours before work, let's do that. Or whatever the case is.
Right.
Or how do you feel about watching the silly movie with me? Or
Yes.
just something, but somebody's already got the idea and the plans. And I think for once, you want somebody else to take charge and make things happen for you.
Yes.
Rosemary, I wanted to bring you again. What are some appropriate ways that people can help each other get through a traumatic, life-changing experience that we've witnessed here?
I think Megan and Taylor are so wise in the things they've already said, and it's being present with them. And even if you can't find the right words, to just show up and be with them. Doing something odd or fun, sending them a cute note or message, is just being there and not waiting for them to reach out to you. It's so many people don't feel they know what to say, and just above all, feel compassion, be present. And sometimes I hear people say, well, they quit contacting me, so I guess they don't want to hear from
Oh
me.
dear.
Say, no, keep reaching out, don't stop. You're the one. They need you to have the energy to reach out to them, and not tell me what you need, but being there to help them through it. And when people have not experienced grief and loss, sometimes they don't realize how long it takes to need people's support. And a dear friend of mine said, I thought after a couple years I would be further through this. She said, I'm just not. And so realizing that that's how long people need us for is to keep coming and keep being there, because it's still very fresh to them.
Yeah, really good point, Rosemary. I know that in a lot of cases, people might show up at the very beginning. And
That's what happens. It's usually that first several months or even year, and then it fizzles by so many just going on with their own lives. And as the girls shared, because they don't know true deep grief.
yeah, and then of course there's the work that comes with when someone dies. There's the work ahead of time. I think we talked about that a little bit. It's stressful. You're worried. It's you're worried about everybody. But there's also all the things that the stuff you have to deal with, the finances you have to deal with, and there's even guilt. You know, I'm sure I'm sure this happens to everybody. Is there something more that we could have done? So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about how you felt when it happened, and what you were faced with, and especially Taylor, you learned after both your parents died that there were no finances to help you through this as well. So Taylor, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, there was a lot of shock, one thing after another, obviously the initial loss. And, you know, once that kind of starts to settle in, you have to figure everything else out. Neither of my parents had any life insurance or any will or trust or anything or any instruction of what I were to do in this situation. So when my dad passed away, I had to figure everything out on my own, essentially. My sister, obviously, too, was involved in that. But, it's difficult because I was 22. So a lot of people had a lot of opinions on what, I should be doing.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, I handled it as best as I could and figured everything out and got it all done. But I'm super grateful for those who helped financially. I know there was a GoFundMe that was started to help us, and I'm so beyond grateful for that. It really did help us a lot. But it's not even in just all that. It's what do you do with all their stuff? What do you do going forward? Like I can't, every time I'd get in my car, I'm like, oh, I got to call my mom now. And then I'm like, oh, I can't, well, I have a question about this. It's hard to navigate having the two people that you would go to for anything not there anymore. And something that I really struggle with is asking for help or asking questions. And it's hard for me to call another adult in my life and ask them something that I want to ask my mom. So that's been something that I've had to deal with, but
I just can't even imagine. And I know that's had an impact on your life today.
yeah.
Now, one of the first things you told me is have insurance.
Yes.
Tell me briefly about that.
So I left my job that I was at for 5 years after my dad passed away for a few reasons, but the main one is it wasn't feeling important to me. And what felt important to me was the fact that neither of my parents had life insurance. I just was so shocked. So I went and got job and insurance and got my life and health license and property and casualty. And now I tell everybody you need life insurance. Even my friend, I have it, my sister has it. I text all my friends. I'm like, hey, by the way, instead of getting Chick-fil-A, $20 a month, you can get a life insurance policy. But it's so true. I think everybody should have that. You absolutely never know what's going to happen in life. And GoFundMe is not life insurance. They
Right.
could have had something set up to where we knew what to do. And also, I think I, again, had no instruction of what to do. So I think that's super important for, people to recognize.
Even dealing with funerals
Yeah.
and situations like that. I mean, that's event planning, basically.
Yeah.
And you've likely never entered into that world. You
Right.
didn't know who you would even talk to, what resources you would need,
Yeah.
how you do this. Yeah, unbelievable. And Megan, I know you went through so much as well. And I know that that's had an impact on you. So tell us how you were feeling and how you were managing. And there's no doubt worry and guilt probably through the whole thing that you couldn't help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. With his situation and his head injuries, it's such an invisible disease. So, on the outside, I knew that he was in pain, but I didn't know the extent of what brain injuries can do to someone, because, like I said, it is invisible. And so, he was always so happy and such a hard worker and all this stuff, but I know that inside, I know that his head really, really affected him. And I've looked into Concussion Foundation and different organizations and stuff, and that's definitely a shared experience with a lot of people and a lot of athletes, and something that I'm passionate about now, especially because I work with kids. Knowing that these sports, they start contact at such a young age, and it's so not worth it. It's not worth a lifetime of pain. And I know that a lot of people who do suffer from these brain injuries and repeated concussions, I'm sure that if they could take back the years of all the impacts and playing the sport that they loved, that they would, trade that in for a healthy brain.
Megan, you told me a story that really resonated with you when you were talking with him and there was a loud noise going off. And you spoke about how uncomfortable that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one day I was FaceTiming him at work. He worked in construction, and it was at one of the hospitals that he was working at, and there was a ringing going on. Like, it wasn't a fire alarm, it was a straight ringing noise. And I was like, I have to hang up. Like, I cannot stand this noise. It's so annoying. And it kind of hit me when he said, Megan, this is what I hear in my ears every single day, nonstop.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's when I realized the suffering that comes with it, because it was driving me crazy for 30 seconds. I was like, I have to hang up. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And he couldn't just turn that off.
Oh, horrible. Well, I also want to talk about something that's very difficult as well. It's that lingering loss. It's that secondary loss. It's how you see the future and how you realize it's not the future you had envisioned for yourself. Taylor, let's start with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every day there's something that I feel in that front. Whether it's Mother's Day being tomorrow and, my mother's not around, or thinking about getting married and not having my parents there. It's so many different things. And I feel like it comes in waves as well. Like, you don't think about all the things initially. They come up and remind you. Unfortunately, it is the situation that you're in. So you try to find ways to pivot that into a negative thing. Like, I know for me, like, I used to say, like, for example, like a day like Mother's Day, I hate this day, I'm not leaving my room. Instead, I'm like, what a great day to celebrate what I had,
Oh,
So I think you just kind of have to pivot it from negative to positive. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy and be miserable. So I think that's something that we're still navigating, of course. It is fresh. But yeah, there's secondary losses that you come across every day, small or big. It's difficult.
Congratulations on making yourself go to the positive.
Yeah.
Even when that's not your gut reaction.
When Megan's boyfriend died, I really, being there for her made me also show up for myself more. And, everything that I wanted her to do to help heal, I started to have to do myself, or I was a hypocrite, right? So honestly, like, I think us having each other really, really helped me kind of get to that point where now I'm like, okay, I have to look at the positive,
No doubt. And Megan, let's talk about this.
Yeah. So what Taylor was saying was so spot on. You come across secondary losses every single day. There's not a day that goes by that you don't think about the people that you lost, big or small, just little things like, oh, I'm off of work now, I want to text him, and you can't. And Taylor's exactly right. Like, it helps having someone to go along with you and kind of, like, if I needed to text him, I would text Taylor after, or when I went to grief counseling, I dragged her along with me and forced her to come with, and it ended up being the best thing for us. Yeah. And we were able to meet a lot of fellow grievers, and they are some of the most incredible people with amazing stories, and being able to share with them and talk about those everyday life of grieving and all the losses that you experience, and being able to share that with a community is such a beautiful thing. But it's definitely challenging on an everyday basis. It's just, some days it's easier to make the decision to spin it in a positive way and keep moving forward. And then other days it's more difficult to pivot.
Absolutely.
You ladies are so brave, and it takes so much discipline, I know as well. Well, Rosemary, you've heard how extraordinary, how resourceful, how strong both Megan and Taylor are, clearly wise beyond their years. Now, how do they maintain their wellness? They've done the things, the therapy, the grief counseling. How do they keep this up?
I think that it comes in the waves that you speak of, girls, and grief needs compassion and kindness always. There may be a day that you just cocoon and be with yourself and honor yourself's time to grieve that loss. Does grief ever end?
No.
Sometimes it doesn't ever end. Sometimes our beliefs help. Is their soul or spirit still with us? Are you able to have spiritual conversations with them? Professional help that you're getting is very helpful as you're sharing. I'm so grateful that you're both receiving this and doing it together is
Mm-hmm.
even a greater gift. And someone that you know that you get deep compassion and support with as your therapist. And some and letting go of guilt, releasing guilt for that, or releasing anger at someone else, or even the person who's passed. And all of these things help us with our resilience as we let go more and more. Facing the remainder of your life without them, making new plans you thought you'd never have to make, sharing things, doing things you thought you'd never have to do without them. I get it. I've been there. Sometimes just putting one foot in front of the other is all you can do, and you keep going.
Absolutely.
Those you know that have suffered great losses like you will need you later, because then you become the compassionate ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that.
Yes, and you've been present for each other, and despite my years of being a nurse and having lost high school kids that I was caring for, then until it was my own family loss, it totally changed. But yet somehow I had the presence to be there for other people. And so it does have a gift. It gives us an ability of compassion we don't have until it happens to us.
Rose,
And
Absolutely.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
I wanted to know if there's signs that they should be looking for in themselves or in each other, that are kind of warning signs that it's time to talk to somebody, get some help, think through things.
I think an ongoing relationship with someone that you know understands where you are and what you've been is valuable. Even if just periodically you see them or go to a grief support group for, I call it even a tune-up, so that you stay in touch with your feelings, and watch for behaviors that you might be burying sadness. There's different transitions and milestones we have in our life, as you've mentioned, that will be coming, and be prepared to get the help you need each time. Always be ready with getting some help. And it sounds like you girls are very proactive in this, and I commend you for the path you've taken despite the difficulty that's been dealt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosemary, I know when I was dealing with a similar situation, I had 3 fatally ill family members all at the same time. It was a really desperate situation. None of them were ever going to get any better, and it was just crisis after crisis and sadness. I know that I felt this desperation. I felt this need to feel normal, to get grounded, but everything around me just reminded me of what was happening. So Taylor and Megan, you both were able to find that thing that took you out of the fight or flight mode, and that thing that brings you joy, helps you feel connected, and really makes you feel like you. So Taylor, the reason I met you is because you are a musician and you were playing in a popular nightclub. Tell me about how important music has been in your life.
Yeah, I will say it's still an ongoing battle, of finding things to ground me. I think still to this day, like you were saying, like a lot of things do remind me of the situation. But singing has definitely been a huge help. It's something that I've always loved to do, and specifically where I've been singing, it was somewhere really near and dear to my family. My parents actually met when my mom was singing there and my dad was working there. So that has been something that has really brought me closer to them, and my mom was an amazing singer. So every time I sing, I feel super close to her. So, that used to be a negative thing. I didn't really want to sing or perform for a while. And it was kind of like I was saying earlier, I've transitioned that into like, what a blessing that I'm able to do that and feel so close to them. Yeah, I would say it's
I
been special.
remember when I met you and you were playing songs, and the one that sticks out in my mind was Landslide by Stevie Nicks, another Scottsdale girl, and thinking, when I thought later about what you had been through after I'd met you, I thought, how does she sing these beautiful ballads
Yeah.
and not just break down? But you said you don't feel any pain when you're singing, you actually feel joy.
Yeah, that is 100% true. And I think it took a minute to get there. You know, a lot of these songs too, like I learned from my mom. So it was a little bit heart-wrenching at first, but honestly now it brings me genuine joy to be able to sing and you know bring other people joy with my music is super important to me.
And I have to bring this up too. When I did meet both of you, I was just taken by how calm and collected this young woman was out there singing her heart out. And then her friend and Megan and your mom were also there as well. And I thought, what an amazing support system. And you were talking to each other and encouraging her every step of the way. And Megan, you have an amazing story to tell as well. You've got a whole class of fourth graders
Yes.
that love you dearly and that you love.
Yes.
How has that helped you?
Teaching, I did take some time off of work when this first happened. And, you know, I would always say, I'm like, I can't fill their cups because I'm empty. Like, I have nothing to give anyone. I was a shell of a human being. But I think in teaching, too, you go into a teaching career wanting to change a child's life, right? Wanting to at least make an impact on one child. And, you know, no one prepares you for the fact that there's 25 little ones that actually change your life. And I was blessed with the best class, and they make me emotional.
Happy tears.
Yeah, I just have 25 little blessings that remind me of all the good and the innocence of life. And they fill my cup. And so teaching is definitely my purpose. I love it so much. And those kids are everything to me. And it's been great for me in my grief. It really keeps me busy. Teaching is a career where the work doesn't stop when you get off of work. So it's kept me busy, which is good. I can keep my mind focused on something positive and focusing on getting these students to grow. So yeah, it's been incredible, and I wouldn't change my job for the world.
You know, Megan, I thought you were incredibly brave because you wanted to go meet your class. And this was a month after his death.
Correct.
And you wanted to say, hello, I'm here with you. I'm going to take care of myself, but then I'll be back.
Yes.
And you did. You kept your word. And these little ones were so dear because they could not have grasped what you were going through. But they
Yes.
would say the sweetest, kindest things to you, and that would make you smile. And just like you are now, you know, happy tears.
Yes, I definitely wanted to prove to my students and to their parents that I was there for their kids, and I was going to show up for them and come back and give them my 100%. And so I sat my kids on the carpet and we read a little book, Our Classroom Family. We talked about it, and obviously I didn't share with them my situation at all. I just told them, you know, I lost someone really near and dear to my heart, and I need to take some time for myself to heal my heart, and just talking about when I would come back. And it was really cute. Obviously, their little brains can't wrap around grief and all that comes with it, but it was really cute. They were trying to relate to me in different ways. One of my students raised her hand and, you know, told me about how devastated she was when she lost her pet chicken. And so it was, I was like, girl, I wish this was a chicken. But it was really cute to see them try to relate and be so empathetic. You know, I had some kids, I knew right there, I only had known them for 2 days, but I knew right there, I'm like, oh, those are my 5 little empaths in this room, you know? So yeah, it was a special moment.
Now you understand everybody who's watching who has kids wants you as their teacher, right? So just so you know that. Rosemary, I want to talk about the resilience that we're experiencing, coping mechanisms, and the ability to regain joy even through grief. How do you know that you've made it through that darkest night? And how do you know that you're okay, that you've turned the corner?
I think you're always turning the corner. I think that there's days you say, boy, I had a better day today. And then you'll have another dip and be down again and pull your bootstraps up and take another step and step back into your life and say, no, I am doing better. And so I think the corners you feel you're turning get a little further between gradually. And it's just important when you know you're in a state of turning a corner, one of the difficult moments on this long path of grief, that you give yourself time to turn the corner and then know that this too shall pass.
Wow.
So give yourself the breathing time and the self-care time, and then step back into the joy of what is good in your life, whether it be the children at school, the singing to people that you love and sharing the songs you love, or for me, helping people or being with my grandkids. So just continue knowing that there's going to be another corner, but you're going to also come around that one.
Well, you
And
know,
be patient with yourself.
oh, that's a good one too. Megan and Taylor, I am just amazed and excited for you both. You have such a deep connection, such deep respect and love for each other. And you also are looking to the future. You're looking for what you can do for people. And I know that's a big part of who you are. You want to help others. Megan, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I think my career is one thing, that it's a career of helping others and getting kids from point A to point B, and making sure that they're growing academically and in their social life as well. So that is one way. Like, I like to make an impact with my kids and, going over social emotional learning and things like that as well. And definitely I want to raise more awareness for grief and the aftermath of grief and how to show up for people who are grieving. I'd love to get into nonprofits with sports injuries and things like that. I am super fresh in my grief, so I'm trying to heal first, but eventually I would love to get involved in things and organizations like that.
Megan, you're a beautiful light, and you're doing such a great job.
Thank you.
And Taylor, you had mentioned, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you said you wanted to shine a light on all that taboo, all those things we don't talk about.
Yeah.
And then we're not equipped.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I think I just want to keep conversations open, because it's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about. And just because time has passed, like we've kind of been saying this whole time, is it's still an ongoing thing, grief,
Sure.
So I think keeping the conversation open is so important. No one talks about it. So that's kind of, my plan in my life is just for people, if you're going to understand me, you're going to understand grief and things about me, and I have no problem sharing it with you. And if, you want to talk about it, we can. But I think, like Megan said, we've talked a lot about doing nonprofit work and just raising awareness and, about these things. And really, I think how to show up for people is super important. If we can keep that conversation open, it could help anybody who goes through this in the future.
Yeah.
And people closest to them. But I think in my life specifically too, I said this to Megan in the very beginning of things happening, was that if you could experience such deep sorrow and grief, when you experience joy, it's like tenfold. And that's really what I strive for in my life is, just to find joy where I can and bring joy to others, because that brings me joy. So that's kind of what I will continue to do, spread joy and hope for the best.
You do such a beautiful job. And again, your light shines so brightly too. And the two of you together, that's what brought me in to talk to you, because I knew there was something extraordinary happening between you and around you. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the best of luck to both of you. I have to say,
you.
as I'm sitting here listening to you, I feel a book coming. I feel a children's book. I feel an adult's book.
A children's book.
I hear co-authors here. So please stay in touch.
Yeah.
I want to hear all the wonderful
Yes.
things that are doing the light that you continue to have for each other and for everyone that you come in contact with. Rosemary, do you have any final thoughts?
Ladies, thank you for who you are.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here are my takeaways from today's show. True friendship means you are there for all phases of life. Even if it feels awkward and you don't know what to do or what to say, just keep checking in, keep showing up. And if you find yourself in a place of overwhelming sadness, no matter how strong and capable you may think you are, please find support. Talk to a therapist, a spiritual leader, a mentor, a good friend, or a support group. And also seek out that thing that grounds you, that brings you joy and connects you with other people, and just do it. It's so important not to lose yourself amidst the chaos that life can bring sometimes. This is Zonie Living, Business, Adventure, and Leadership. I'm Bonnie Stevens.